Hey guys, Mr. War. Today is gonna be the brand new update on our peaceful little place. That is the Fate collaboration tier list update has just hit the greatest tier list website of all, Prydwen.gg. Alright, so this key update is mainly gonna be affecting the brand new Gilgamesh and Rin Tohsaka, as well as their impacts on Saber and Archer using the previous collaboration. So with that out of the way, let's see what we have right here in the chat. Actually, you know what? Let's just take a look at the tier list right here. And Oh, and there it is, chat. So it appears that Rin Tohsaka and Archer will be debuting at a double tier 0 for Memory of Chaos, whereas Saber and Gilgamesh will be debuting at a double tier 0.5 in Memory of Chaos. To be fair, both Archer and Saber have went up by, I believe, half a tier respectively, where Archer resumes his tier 0 position as a E0 S1 DPS, and Saber climbs into the same rank as Acheron after the release of Gilgamesh. So frankly speaking, I think this is just a really interesting development because wow, Acheron after receiving Endblade is actually standing toe to toe with a E0 Phynon as well as our E0 Saber into Gilgamesh combination, right? So this is gonna be the MOC update, and we're strictly just gonna be focusing on the Fate units of 4 Memory of Chaos. With that being established, let's take a look at Pure Fiction real quick. Oh, okay, Pure Fiction, both of them appears to be in the same caliber with double tier 0.5 as well as a double tier 0.5, which I feel this is pretty fair. I don't think they were necessarily too much stronger or weaker than one another, but I do believe they have their respective issues. So for example, Saber and Gilgamesh, they have a lot of bounces, right? A lot of boink targeting, which is just not a very nice matchup into Pure Fiction in general. Archer does have a little bit more help with Rin Tohsaka because number one, Rin Tohsaka has a couple of full AoE targeting from the joint follow-up attack, and number two, Archer's damage is not a boink, right? It is pure single target, which if you try using Archer in Pure Fiction nowadays, his ability to snipe whichever he wants to hit, I feel it slightly better than boinks in Pure Fiction. Because the damage split from a boink targeting, it's too irregular where you cannot determine if you want to clear the mobs or the boss faster, right? So at least you have the control of like whether you want to focus on the mobs or you want to focus on the boss in Pure Fiction. I would say Archer, especially with Rin Tohsaka, probably would feel a little bit better compared to Saber as well as Gilgamesh, right? Also, this just reminds me, where did D Herda go? Wow, that is a very interesting placement right there. Ooh, imagine being the queen of erudition, but we are not doing too well in our erudition based content, which is just a little bit of a sun, right? A little bit of a sun. So that is gonna be Memory of Chaos, and now moving on into Epoch Shadows. Ooh, so for Epoch Shadows and MOC, these two are the key differences between Saber as well as Gilgamesh compared to Archer as well as Rin Tohsaka. So what Prydwen is essentially saying as of this current moment is that if you want to play the better team, right? Neutrally speaking, I think what Prydwen is trying to convey, the better team is going to be Saber and Rin Tohsaka, which is, it might be a little bit of an interesting debate if I can say so myself. So let's take a look at what the changelog is gonna be. And you know what, I realized we can do one very interesting thing, which is for the brand new units added to Prydwen's tier list, we can take a look at the Prydwen unit review for the brand new units. I believe the author is the same guy that wrote Blade. So we'll see how that is gonna be. So changelog wise, oh, massive power level improvement with the synergy passives, major rating increments across all modes, tier 0, tier 0.5, tier, oh my god, Archer actually jumped up by like 2 whole ass tiers from 1.5 to 0.5. Then Saber also went up by half a tier in Mock and AS, jumping up by 1.5 tiers in Pure Fiction. That is a considerable damage or rather performance increase, right? So let's see. To begin with, we're starting out with Rin and Gilgamesh in the support damage category due to how that kit aligns. However, we acknowledge that both have dedicated DPS builds. So with that, we're holding off on ranking them right now, and we'll see how popular and effective these strategies are. So they haven't ranked them as a main DPS. I'ma keep it a buck. If we were to rank them as a main DPS, this is gonna be done with Sparkle, Saridra, DHPT. And then this is gonna be done with Asheville, Blade, and Huan Huan. So, ironically, both of these units are using 2 completely separate teams from one another. So if you were a Fate main, it is entirely possible for you to run one main DPS Rin and one main DPS Gilgamesh on Team 1, Team 2, and there are like no conflicts. But that being said though, do you have the costs? Do you have the teammates to actually make their main DPS team work? So for example, I would say if you want to run main DPS Rin Tohsaka, the team building flexibility is quite harsh. Like you're almost entirely bound to Sparkle for either main DPS or sub DPS Rin Tohsaka. Then if you want to do her as a main DPS, Saridra's damage increase is just absolutely absurd, especially with the duplicate skill, right? So that makes her really, really strong. And if you don't want to run Saridra, you miss out on a lot of skill damage multipliers as well as the double essentially, right? Then for Gilgamesh, I feel like his team building is a little bit more lenient. Alright, you have options of Blade, you have options of Tribi, you could run your RMC, maybe you could run Sunday, but I really would not advise it. You could theoretically run him with a Sparkle with E2, right? E2 Sparkle just to stack on defense down. Then there's the classic Yang sustain, because defense down stacking Gilgamesh can work super nicely, especially if you have Asheville and Blade. So if you were to ask me, right, at E0, I would actually place Gilgamesh at a higher tier than Rin Tohsaka for main DPS. Whether or not they are tier 0 or tier 0.5, it will depend. But I feel that at full E0, Rin Tohsaka not having the E1, it will hurt her more than Gilgamesh not having his E1 for main DPS, right? So that is gonna be my personal take so far. For a sustainless run though, I think they can be very evenly matched because you can unlock your access to things like Welt, your E2 Bubbin, as well as your E1 Tribi just for the action value advance and see how the damage is gonna be. We'll probably try this on our main account to see how that is gonna be cooking. So with that being established, let's take a look at Rin Tohsaka's review, chat. Review. Whoa, okay. Definitive support for archers, support SP bonus and hard-hitting AoE joint attack. Impressive self-buffs. Complete duo with great team flexibility. I really just don't think so, personally. I feel like if you are going to be playing archer, if you don't have Sparkle, it is still like really rough. Alright, so that's just me. A good crit damage buff is okay. Surprisingly good personal damage. It's alright. It's alright. At E0, I don't think it's that crazy, especially if you want to compare to Gilgamesh. A good damage profile in single target AoE, okay. Surprisingly high toughness, I think that's very, very fair. And solid investment options. I think that's also fair. I think Rin Tohsaka, E1 is around similar values to Gilgamesh. A little bit lower than E1 Gilgamesh. But her E2 is way better than Gilgamesh E2. So if you're talking about like a E2 S1 comparison, then Rin has a little bit more leeway to develop in that regard, right? Cons, virtually no use outside of Archer teams. That is absolutely fair, unless you want to play her as a main DPS. Personal damage are a lot behind Idolins. They just get the Idolins, right? You can't escape speed tuning if you want consistent joint attacks. Then just speed tune, right? It is super, super easy, right? Okay, so this is by our favorite Endblade Glazer, Mr. Shusho. Wave 2 of it, blah, 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 quantum erudition, blah, 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 blah. Okay, right, joint attack gives buffs to allies usage, buffs to skill points, substantial damage, and sheer personal large attack boost by default. One team, but damn, it is a good one. Intro. Something about Rin is different from the favorite. Blah, blah, blah. Another one of the main characters. Okay, I'm just gonna try to go for... Oh. Gilgamesh could support non-fate. Rin is focused on a solo. Does Archer really need this upskill? And the answer is no. No? Why would he need an upscale? Not sure if you have been keeping track, but Archer has been a hilariously consistent performer across all endgames since its release. And when it seems like his performance is falling, they went ahead and buffed Sparkle and pulled him back up again. Since Archer is the real main character of Fate, it's time for his next unnecessary buff. Given that Rin is very clearly signposted to be a specific teammate, reading Archer to make sure you know what he does. Okay. Addition of this new joint for is extremely exciting for what the future might hold, especially in terms of future character design. Okay, I think this is a very, very good point. Which is if we were to have a third Fate collab. The issue right now is when you're using Sparkle, or rather Sparkle with Rin and Archer, it doesn't unlock the full potential, because from what I see in Fate right now is that they are really trying to push for a multi-DPS setup for both Fate Gilgamesh as well as Rin Archer. But Sparkle being a single target buffer with a skill points has more restrictions compared to Saber Gilgamesh, because Saber Gilgamesh you can run Endblade and Tribi without too big of a gap, since they are aura buffers. So if in the future they get off another Fate unit that can replace Sparkle's role as an aura buffer that buffs both Saber and Gilgamesh, I think that team will cook exceptionally well. So we could very well see a 3 Fate Team 1 and 3 Fate Team 2 depending on how they're gonna cook it. So if I were to be a guessing man, that third Fate unit for Archer and Rin, it is gonna provide AV advance and skill points. And then the third Fate unit for Gilgamesh and Saber, it is gonna provide energy regeneration. Right, so that is gonna be done over there. Abilities, I don't think we care about this too much because we all already know. Oh, Lamau. Lamau is a Lamau. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, all this don't. I kind of just want to see the important things. Okay. Who actually have some niche users. Rin doesn't really have any ways to justify. Specifically, the Archer is fine. Okay. Not as strong as the recent additions. Archer hasn't fallen off anywhere near. In order to get a colossal boost, how some people might argue he's not even qualified for the fallen off statement, especially since Rin just addressed a few pain points Archer has, generally speaking. Single target DPS, anomalies, 5 full shots off. Oh, almost as much as a Sparkle ultimate with no energy cost. All you have to do is make sure once every Sparkle turn and you're golden. This particular line, right, I think it's really not necessary. Because you need to remember that your Sparkle also has a 6 skill point ultimate. So just by running Rin with attack boots, she already has a 20% speed buff. Even if you miss out on one drone attack, your archer should still consistently let go of 5 skills every single time. So that is gonna be really, really nice. One thing to consider, right? There has actually been a test with specific to archer and Rin as a substitute, and that unit is E2S1 Bubbin. And it's really just E2S1 Bubbin because in a vacuum of a zero cycle environment, some players actually found that archer without Rin, but if you have an E2S1 Bubbin, especially with an E1 archer, they are able to perform kind of similarly. But this gap will start to fall off the longer the battle takes place because you cannot maintain E2S1 Bubbin's ultimate. So some food for thought if you are someone considering if you want to go for that investment. But I would say generally speaking, when the HP inflation goes up and the enemies gets tougher, Rin's value will definitely go up by a substantial amount as well, right? Extra price, yep, Sparkle is just really, really nice. This is really, really nice. Okay, opportunity cost. Sparkle is the benefit of being flexibly advanced to whoever needs it. This is nice, but most of the time, you are gonna be in a hard position if you ever decide to buff Rin and skip archer. Because that means your archer is gonna be really, really fucking slow for his next turn, which means you're gonna waste a lot of action value. Although there might be some instances where if you were to buff Rin with the Sparkle's crit damage buff before enhanced skill, I think that could also be super nice. But I would say most situations, because archer is just like so fucking slow, you are generally gonna pull him up, right? Fairly simple speed tuning. Literally attack boots the end, right? Don't recommend hyper carry, it is not very good, but hey, follow you. Okay, this one, right? I honestly would recommend trying it, chat. If you really want to try Rin, because you love playing Rin as a main DPS, she can actually cook quite a bit. So even if, let's just say, you don't have access to the E1, if you have units like E1 Cerebral and E2 Sparkle, she can still do stupid fucking damage. Especially if you are gonna doing this Sustainers, so feel free to try it for yourselves, and if you really like the way that Sustainers E0 Rin DPS is gonna be working, you can then go back for the E1 investment upgrade. So TLDR, you should watch Fate. Okay, so bro is definitely a little bit biased for Mr. Archer, right? So super interesting. Before we wrap up, let's see what bro's review is going to be for Gilgamesh, which is unfortunately gonna be in a little bit more of a pickle compared to Rin. Definitive dual DPS and support for Saber, providing additional energy and 2x multiplier, excellent passives, good damage, T-Vans ignore, timeless damage, skill point neutral, free stacking speed, high damage multiplier, and free. Not a competitive main DPS without idolence. Does not make Saber teams easier to play, quite the opposite. Energy economy fluctuates and depends on the amount of energy teams are expending. Okay, this mandatory ramp up, right? It almost doesn't exist. Because if you were to use him with, like, for example, Huo, and then either M-Blade or Tribi, he should consistently get that 10 stacks every single time. The only time where you might run into your issue, it should just be your first basic because you're running RMC. Then RMC, if you were to pull him out and you don't have 10 stacks, then you can't unlock the defense down. But I would say this is a very small issue he has. This speed value thing, it's kind of annoying, but you could just play it while ignoring his speed entirely. So you focus all in on damage, and then you kind of just see how many stacks of interest you're gonna be able to fight in battle. Most of the time, because it is not an AV advance built in, it is a speed buff, you can just pretend his in-game battle speed, it is just playing a little bit similar to like Aglea getting a shit out speed, right? Whereas for Gilgamesh, it will fall off, but Aglea doesn't. Luckily for Gilgamesh, he doesn't need speed tuning, since you don't really play him with units that wants to be speed tuned. So namely like Endblade Tribby, you just let their kids go, and then he's just gonna do his own thing. Alright, if you play him with like Sparkle and Sunday, it will be a lot more annoying, right? So let's see. Okay, fantastic general support. Very, very nice. Main DPS himself, absolutely. Okay. Okay, we are gonna skip all that. Most power glue to him, blah blah. Dahlia. I see. Very exciting stuff. Okay, sure. Helps tremendously. Final output is very, very impressive. Okay, honestly, I don't mind trying this as well. Like running Gilgamesh with Eva Densi. So you run him as a sustainless team, like for example, like Epoch Shadows, because Evanesia can cook out like a shit ton of energy expenditure. So that is quite nice. And yes, this is double free, which is super, super good. Okay. 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 Absurd. Okay, chat, I'm literally just gonna skip on. Oh. This is very, very good E1. I 100% agree. This is a really, really nice amount of E1. Unconditional slot in. Okay, so here are the issues with Gilgamesh. Brings his quirks to the team. Better actually playing the game. You need to improve your HSR skills to use Gilgamesh and Saber. I see. The self-action value advances max energy is quite challenging when you have other energy sources like Sunday, Huo, Tingling. This guy is dead. She is basically dead. Huo is a very valid thing. This blah blah gives a max mana threshold, 100% AV advance. It's not bad, but it's an extractor and not full. It can screw with your buff timings if you're not ready. The fix for this is very, very simple. Because realistically, right now, if you run Gilgamesh with Saber, you are not really running a buffer unless you're still stuck with RMC, which is why Tribby and Endblade makes this team a lot better. Because their buffs are based on their individual turns and not how many turns you get from Saber itself. So I would definitely highly recommend still sticking with Tribby and Endblade. Also, one fun thing about Saber's free turn when you get full energy is that if you save your, the enhanced basic, you will never get a free turn until after she uses an enhanced basic. So you could try that to make sure you have enough energy and you don't waste any action value. But if you know what you're doing, like for example, right after Saber's turn goes, you have a Huan ultimate. And after the Huan ultimate, you can immediately get a Saber out. Then that will also give you a lot of free action value, right? Maybe the difficulty to play with Gilgamesh is mainly if you still use Gilgamesh Saber and, for example, Sunday and like Sparkle or maybe RMC. Okay, I would say RMC with this team is hella fucking hard to play because you gain so much charge to the point where you need to try to balance out the true damage buff on both Saber and Gilgamesh at the same time. So that is a very, very annoying comp. But if you don't want to think too much about it, I think Tribby and Endblade is gonna be a lot more straightforward. And honestly speaking, just deals way more damage anyways, right? So blah, 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 blah. Moment-to-moment decision making. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. Okay, I think this is like super exaggerated. Like, you really don't need to think about this much things if you're running Gilgamesh and Saber, assuming you're running Endblade and Tribby. Alright, Endblade or Tribby. If you do use RMC, then you probably want to manage that a little bit more. Keeping track of the joint attack, I would say it's okay, because like, let's just say you waste a little bit of energy, right? It is not really the end of the world, just because the joint attack triggers very infrequently. It's only 8 stacks of attacks between Gilga and Saber. So most of the time, you are just not going to be facing this issue whatsoever, right? It is a lot. It is okay, right? It is all right. Combining is very rewarding, extraordinarily hard to learn. Okay, I think this would be a point if you play Sustainless, you slap on like a Well Yang. I think that would be a little bit more annoying. So it genuinely just does depend, right? Completely free as of the time of writing. Archer is also free. Oh, this is really, really good. Who should you pick for Gilgamesh and Archer? Oh, he's extremely strong. Archer got way stronger with her, even though Archer didn't need the help. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, he didn't say which one to get, so we're gonna be a little bit more neutral. I'll probably talk about this in like either a scripted video tomorrow or very, very soon we have a little bit more time. Huan is inarguable. Absolutely, you definitely want Huan. Sustainers is good, not much else to say. Wrap up might be tricky. Archer and Rin is definitely the stronger of the duo. It is a very, very satisfying team. If you don't get Gilgamesh right now, you have plenty of time to change your mind. My lawyer has decided to not make a character-related joke. I see. So with that, we are gonna come into the end of Prydwen's first overall analysis for the Fate collab units, Rin and Gilgamesh, alongside with the buffs for Saber and Archer. Personally speaking, based on my own account, I would love to see the final value between both of them with a little bit more endgame contents for myself. One thing to consider is, should I activate Buckle? Because free is free, right? Let me know what you guys think in the thoughts and comments down below. Word of the day is gonna be Rin got buffed. Very large. Join Discord. Use code POKE for 10% off gamer subs. All the best for your gacha pools, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.